Good evening, Ian. Glad to have you back, man. After the last session, things went pretty well. We're still working with cognitive behavior therapy, where
Yes.
therapy, as a reminder, is how we change our actions, and those actions are changed by our thoughts and our emotions, and from the thoughts go the emotion and then the action. So we were talking about the fact that you relocated to Texas from Asheville because of job training,
Right.
and how that was a strain on your relationship with your wife and you, and how best to kind of operate now and to start thinking better and acting better. So what's some of the things that we talked about last, some of the things, how your thought process used to go as it relates to being away from your family?
Well, I mean, while I was at home, building up to the relocation, it was kind of hard on me and my wife. And my wife had concerns about me not being intentional about our relationship while I was down here, because I struggle with it at home,
Right.
just not being intentional, not being as thoughtful as I should.
Right.
So since I've been in Texas, that's like one behavior that I know I need to really change. I need to start putting more effort into our relationship, because I take advantage of me and her relationship, honestly.
Right. Can I ask you, so when you say intentional, what type of things does that look like in real life? So when you say, my wife, you know that you need to be intentional, what does that look like in real life for you in terms of not being intentional?
Not being intentional, not really checking on where she's at, not listening to her, not making eye contact, not listening with my heart and my ears, and honestly, like not respecting or like taking advantage of her at home. She does so much for my son and I, and I don't show her the gratitude that I need to. And so since relocating, I've really made it a point to myself to check in on her, like where's her MEPS at, her mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Like, hey, honey, how are you?
Right.
How are you? Instead of being like, how are you doing? Good. Okay. Well, let me tell you about me. Right.
So what I hear you saying is that your attention on her has kind of been like, I'm going to ask you, but I really don't care. I just want to get it out of the way to get to my stuff.
Yeah.
And so then the intentional part for you is to be actually concerned and expressing that concern and waiting for a response from her versus trying to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And get to yours.
Right.
We mentioned in the last session that your wife is taking care of a son that's not her biological son.
Right.
And so how that looks and feels for you in terms of the effort she makes. And you mentioned that as well just a minute ago, that she does all these different things for your son.
Right.
What are some of the things that you struggle? So, and you said now when you're away, when you're in front of her, I can understand her being able to discern if you're being dismissive. But when you're away, how do you make up for being intentional when you're so far away?
By actually picking up the phone. Checking in with her. I know when I'm at home and I'm away, let's say I'm at home and she's at the store, or I'm at work, like I'll negate texting her back, just because, like, hey, I'll see her when I get home, or
Right.
I can answer that question later.
Right.
But here, like, I can't do that, you know, and so I'm actually putting forth the effort. Hey, honey, this is me thinking about you more than once a day.
Right.
You know, like I want her to know, like, even though I'm not there, I'm still here.
Right.
And yeah, so just being cognizant, like, hey, I have to show effort in this relationship and be reciprocal.
Right.
If that's a word, yeah,
Right.
like
Reciprocate, give back. Like, so I hear you saying that you're making an intentional effort and that you pay attention to her. What has been her response? Has there been a different response from her to you?
No. So like one thing I struggle with, Alvarez, is when I'm trying to make a change, I want to see instant results, and so right now I'm not getting that. And instead of letting her know that, hey, I'm trying here, I'm not getting nothing from you, I'm just gonna wait patiently. Like, this is new for me, and so it's not gonna be like a instant gratification.
Right.
Like, she's not gonna just like fall in my arms and say, Ian, you're paying so much attention to me now, and it's hard for me to realize that, but like I know, like the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, right.
and so like I'm not waiting for that response from her. I'm just doing it for goodness sakes.
Right. So no affirmation from her in terms of her affirming that you're making an effort. That may be a little bit difficult for you because, and how difficult is that for you? I mean, you said that you're waiting for her, so how difficult is that to wait and not hear?
It's rough because it's like, because you know I have like that. I have a hurt past. You know, people have dishonored me, gave me reasons not to trust them, and so in my mind it's like, I'll have like scenarios playing out in my head. She's with somebody else, or all that stuff, and like when those thoughts just come, I'm like, the likelihood of that is probably not happening. I just when I'm not getting the response that I'm earning for, my brain wants to tell me like, well, since this isn't happening, something else has got to be happening.
Right. So we talked about that, and we talked about reframing those thoughts and redirecting those thoughts when they go in that place, because those thoughts do produce an emotion, which can produce an action that's not good. So what do you do specifically when you have those thoughts? So when Ian has a thought, she's not responding, or maybe she's doing this, do you redirect it? So what way do you redirect or reframe your thoughts?
You know, I look at them realistically. You know, she has 2 jobs. She is a full-time mother right now.
Good.
She has a full-time job. She goes to school full-time. And so, at that point, I really put it in perspective, and I kind of feel inconsiderate, and that's the exact same thing I'm trying to get away from.
Right. That's excellent. That's excellent. The fact that you reframe it to say, how can she have time? She has 2 jobs. She's taking care of her son.
Yeah.
When does she have time to do anything? Right. And you did say that it goes back to your own hurt from the past.
Right.
And not trusting in people letting you down.
And she's even said like, because like down here, I wouldn't tell her this, but I'm on vacation basically. I have a full-time job while I'm down here, but I have no dogs to take care of. I have no wife to really tend to. I have no son to tell to brush his teeth. So I'm just down here, like living a bachelor's life, and so like she's kind of hinted towards that. She was like, she told me that whenever I expect her to answer the phone whenever I have a free minute, not thinking about like what she's got going on. And so, like she's helped me put that into perspective, and so like it's assisted me in my thinking.
Right.
That doesn't mean when I try to call her and she can't answer right now, my brain's still not telling me stuff that's probably not true.
Right.
But instead of calling her again back to back, I'd just be like, hey, be patient. She's a busy woman. Right.
Excellent. Because you're going to have those thoughts as you see, just because you don't have that time, that free time. You have so much free time. When you're from work, like you say, I'm off work. She has a dog, she has a son, she has 2 jobs, she has to clean the house.
Yes.
And so, when you're finished your job, you're like, I want to talk.
Yeah.
And so it does take.
But see, and I'm working second shift too, and she, most of her duties are on like the morning schedule, and she's an hour ahead. So with that, like when she's working and she's crunching numbers, she's doing her thing, I'm free.
Right.
And so like when my availability to talk is during the daytime, and her availability is while I'm at work, because I work second shift while I'm down here. So it is a little bit difficult because we don't get to spend that face-to-face time on FaceTime or.
Right. And we talked a little bit last session about you not kind of volunteering your free time and your good times at Six Flags.
Yeah.
Even though it's relaxing to you, what it looks like to her is, hey.
Yeah, and so like that kind of, I went home for the holidays, for Thanksgiving, and like my first couple weeks here, I was sending her pictures and stuff, but like when we was at dinner or something, I heard her say, like, Ian's just, something to the effect of like, I'm just on vacation or something, and like I'm just having a big party down here. So I've seen how she kind of felt about that, so I'm just gonna, like, I want to share it with her, but also I just, like, I don't want to affect her affect her like, hey, you are working. I'm down here having fun. I know she wants me to have fun and stuff, but like there's a line of like, if she asks me what I'm doing, I want to tell her, but I'm not going to rub it in her face.
Right. I understand that wisdom is just because the reading of that is I have, just like you mentioned earlier in the conversation. Hey, I got 2 jobs. I got your son. I got life, and you got 1 job, no son, no dogs, no anything.
Nothing.
And if anything goes wrong here, I got to take care of it. Because you got 2 dogs, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has your dog and her dog.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can understand, and I think it's wise to be sensitive to the fact that you don't want to celebrate hanging out at Roller Park, having a great time at Six Flags, or
going to museums. Going to go see the cattle drive, out to eat every other night, and so like those things. In a sense, I'm grateful for the experience, but I can when I put myself in her shoes, it's kind of unfair, you know. And that's at least how I would take it.
Right. Have you thought any more about documenting, journaling? Like, for instance, one of the things that helps sometimes is journaling, when we write down what we're grateful for and how we're grateful for it. Mm-hmm. And so what sometimes is repeating those gratitude lists of the people in our lives to remind us. Sometimes when we pen things to paper, it's committed to memory more.
Right.
And that's something we talked about a little bit about doing that, just so, and not anything in particular that I'm suggesting, but if she got a letter from you.
You know, it's crazy. So I landed back, and like me and her got in a really bad argument on Saturday. She wanted to table the conversation till Sunday, and I was like, look, I'm leaving Monday morning. I want Sunday to kind of be like a breath of fresh air, and so let's argue Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so like we argued, but when I flew back to Dallas Fort Worth on Monday, when I got to the room, I sat down and I wrote her a letter.
Oh, good.
I wrote her a letter and said I sent it Tuesday morning, and so I don't know if she's got it yet. At least she hasn't mentioned it to me yet.
Right.
And so and like I haven't personally started journaling yet for myself. But like my big focus right now is me and my wife's relationship. Right. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely strained being away for 4 months.
And how long have you guys been married?
Me and Ashley have been married for 2 years.
2 years, yeah. Still relatively young man.
Yes, relatively young. We've been together 2.5 years. So we was only together for about 6 months before marriage. And like we've been through a lot. And right now is around the same time. Like my brother's in the hospital right now. Yes. And like this time last year, we lost a baby, pregnancy, and the year before that we lost a pregnancy. So like it's definitely compounding on her, especially now that my brother's in the hospital in ICU. So like it's a rough time, but like but my vows was like through sickness and health, and so like right now there's some sickness in our families, and so I just want to mend and take care of that. But to get back on the journaling thing, like I want to do it, but I think right now it's more effective because like, I spend time by myself. I read, but. Yeah, so
you read, okay, yeah,
I read,
yeah. Well, if that works, that was suggested, and I think the letter is a good thing. I think the letter is a good thing because people don't send letters anymore.
No.
Whatever we get in the mail is either a postcard or a bill,
or in my wife's case, Amazon package.
It's Amazon package, right? So a letter from your loved one.
Bank statements, and I was like, wow.
Right. So what you just mentioned was a lot. You mentioned 2 miscarriages. Mm-hmm. A brother that's in ICU, and a new marriage in your way. Mm-hmm. That is a lot. That is a lot on her and you, but specifically on her because we're talking about how to make that relationship better with all those things that have happened in relative. How what has transpired in the 2 miscarriages and your brother? What's that time period look like? The last year, last 6 months, last 8 months?
So the first the first ectopic pregnancy was November 2019, and then this last ectopic pregnancy was December, Christmas Eve of last year,
Wow.
and my brother's in the hospital now.
Wow. So each December since 2019 miscarriage, 2021
Yeah,
a miscarriage, and now your brother being in ICU.
yeah, all during the holidays.
All done. And then you being gone.
And now I'm gone. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot to consider, and it's a lot to consider, and so not putting all the weight on you, but it's important that the cognitive behavior therapy, that what we're talking about, the fact that I have to pay attention to my thoughts because my thoughts affect my emotions.
Right.
And we've talked a little bit about your wife responding to situations prematurely, kind of like
Yeah.
very, very, very intense in terms of how things affect her, and the importance of you not being as intense
Yeah.
to kind of balance that out.
Yeah, and so like sometimes that can frustrate her because like my wife is so hyperbolic. I don't want to use the word overbearing, but hyperbolic.
When you say hyperbolic, what do you mean?
She can be a lot all at once, and like when something happens that she doesn't like, she's gonna let you know.
Right.
And so for me, like I want to defend myself, and like for me, I like to get quiet. I like to withdraw. It's just like because I want to diffuse the situation.
Right.
And so she says it's hard to communicate with me because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, I can't meet you right now where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's one thing that like she said she needs to work on is like for me it's hard to meet her in that position because like I mean you kind of know like when I feel attacked, I'm not gonna freeze. I'm not gonna flee. I'm gonna fight.
Right. The flight or fight for you. The fight or flight is fight.
Yeah. And so personally, I like to work on withdrawal and say yes, yes. But then she's like, "You're hard to communicate because of this." I'm like, "Well, I can't communicate with you because of this." And so it's just like boom. And so during that, like we're doing like this couples therapy individually. Yeah, we post on like a forum, and so like that's one thing we're doing as far as like our communication goes in that aspect.
So in that couples therapy individually, how is that? Has it impacted in a positive way?
We're just starting to scratch the surface.
Okay.
Today's day 5.
Okay.
And so like what we do is kind of like a YouTube 5-minute YouTube video, and then you're prompted by a scripture, a Bible scripture, and then you have like a set of 3 to 4 questions to answer, and like you answer them personally. And once each person answers, you can see the other person's answer. And so like you can see where they're at the same time, them seeing where you're at, and like afterwards you can set up a phone call or a FaceTime call and talk about each other's answers.
Okay, so is there no third party involved? Just you two?
Just us two.
Okay.
It's kind of like a self-guided thing.
Okay. And so it's in this an incubation period, 5 weeks. So 5
minutes.
2
minutes.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Well, it looks like there's a lot here. I think to continue to do the one-on-one therapy that you know YouTube, I think for us to continue our sessions is going to be important because we still want to work on how you think, because if she's hyperbolic, we're going to need to continue to think about how you need to process that.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying too is important, because it is important that you don't respond in a way that she wants you to talk right away. And I understand you not wanting to because of the intensity that's coming your way,
right? And like
and the accusations that are coming your way.
I'm not scared, but like I want to watch my response or my reaction, should I say? Because like when she does come at me in that frame, if I don't withdraw, you know what I mean?
Well, it's what raises up,
and so I'm and I try to get her to understand that, like, hey, I can't right now. Like you're in this situation, you're looking for good communication, Ashley, but the way you're coming at me, I can't respond to effectively.
I think that's understandable, 100%. Well, thank you for your time. Hopefully to see you again next month, Ian, and wish you the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.